Today I'm going to be working a little bit on my bike. I'm actually not working on the car, even though I've done a lot of work on the car recently. Today, we're riding my KLX250SF, which is nothing really special as far as bikes go. I'm going to do a little drive around the block here. I'm going to do an oil change, the oil filter, lube the chain, maybe clean up my intake filter. Just a little bit of simple maintenance on the bike. It's going to be a good day. After that, once it's all done, I have to go and pick up an HDMI cable, and I hope I have time to do all of that before I go and play football this afternoon. So, let's go. Okay, looking at the bike, here's what you need to know about oil changes. You look at the right side of the bike, this is the brake lever. Right behind it, you can see that's the oil level viewport. And you can tell the bike's not quite vertical because there's not any oil in the window. And I'd love to show you, but this is kind of dangerous. Just want to make sure I don't spill the bike. But there you go, you can see there's oil level in it. It might be a little low because I do have to tilt it a little bit to be able to see it. That's where the oil level gauge is. There's no dipstick or anything obviously on this bike, or on most bikes I assume. This is the oil filter, so you have to just take these two screws off and then the filter's right behind that. This is where you fill it, and on this side, on the bottom, that is the drain plug. So I'm going to put a pan under here, drain the oil, and then fill it up. $14mm socket. Hopefully a 1/4 inch drive is enough. It shouldn't be too tight. And the engine's a little bit warm, so the oil should be a little warm. And that means it should drain quickly, and it might be kind of hot. Of course, once you have the plug out, you can take off the fill cap, and it would drain faster if there was enough oil in it. This is the filter, like I said, so I'm going to grab, I think it's an 8mm. There we go. Not very tight. And this might also leak, so be prepared. spring loaded, so gotta just be ready for that. Seems a bit odd that the cap could go on either way, it seems. Huh. It's not supposed to. Obviously there's some channels in it, but I guess you have to pay attention when you put it in. And the spring almost fell in, but wow, it's actually pretty dirty, this filter. It's a good thing I'm changing it. Cool. And just for the curious, that's what the inside looks like. Alright, so looking in here, you can see there's 3 ports. There's one here, one up there, and one here. And this is the inlet. This is where the oil gets into the filter, and then goes through all of this chamber into the outside sort of pleats of the filter, and then comes out the inside, this middle part, which is the cap. So it goes through the cap, and there's a port here and a port here, and those line up. This is an outlet, and this is an outlet up here after it goes through the cap. Interesting. Here's the new filter. So this is the old filter. Surprisingly dirty, actually. I don't know how long it's been, because this was the previous owner. This is my new filter. You can see, well, I'm getting it dirty now, but nice and clean. And this spring is very important. This is what keeps tension on the filter, so it actually presses. You can see this rubber, sort of O-ring, presses against the cap right on this surface. And so you have to have spring tension on it to make sure it's always got a seal on there. So now I'm going to slap it back in there and put in some oil. So this filter, much like car filters, get a little bit of oil on your finger. You want to get oil on that seal, just to moisten it up and make sure it seals properly. I think I'm going to try and put it on the cap first, so it kind of presses on there. And you need to make sure that the spring is seated. There's just a little ridge in the back there. How the hell? Shit! Wow. Okay. Okay, so I spent more time than I'd like to admit trying to put this spring in between this and the inside of the housing, which you can see there. There's nothing to hold it together, and I didn't realize at the time, but the proper way to do this is to grab some grease, and what I have here is actually energy suspension grease, but it doesn't really matter what grease it is. This stuff in particular is super, super gooey and sticky, and so you take the spring, get a little bit of grease on the end of it, okay, and then you have grease on it, it'll stick, and there you go. So now, place the cap on, place the spring on the back. There we go. Okay, I think that's right now. Okay, I think we're good. Alright, oil filter on. Now, get rid of this grease. Gotta fill the oil. So, I have oil here and a funnel. It's gonna take at least this much. This is 1 quart, and it should hold about 1.6 quarts. Oh. You have to put this in. Yeah, you definitely need this. I did just clean out the oil there, though. That was cool. Now it's clean oil coming out, not dirty oil. Genius. God, I'm an idiot. I'm gonna leave that one in. I'm gonna take out a lot of the spring fumbling, but I'm gonna leave that part in because that was stupid. That's something I would totally do. It's like, yeah, I'm doing everything to the book, but, you know, don't bother actually putting the plug in the bottom. No. Okay. That plug doesn't need to be that tight. It's just, I'm just using a 1/4 inch ratchet, so I'm not going to be getting too crazy with it. And I'm going to clean up the oil that I spilled on the engine. Okay, now we're ready to put in oil. By the way, this bike uses 10W40. That's what the manual says, and so that's what I'm using, which is the same stuff I use in my car, so that's convenient. I always use Mobile 1 because it's expensive, so I assume that means it's good. I'm a sap sometimes for expensive stuff. I just think, well, if it's expensive, it's got to be good, and obviously that's not always the case, but that does sometimes ring true. There's a lot of situations where you get what you pay for, and I don't know if oil is one of them, but I tend to pay for it, so I'm gonna try and watch how much I put in. All right, I put in about 1.5 liters, and oh, looking at the sight gauge, or sight glass, whatever you want to call it, it's full. I think what I'll do right now is just start the engine for a second and see if I can see a change in the volume, or the height here. Oh yeah. Okay, you could use a little bit more. It's not low. I think this might be good, actually. I'll check it again after I ride. For now, we're all good, except I need to deal with the old oil. Okay, I got the chain lubed up here, and I think I used too much. I'll be honest. I've no experience with using motorcycle lube. This stuff is crazy thick, sticky, gooey. You can even see it. I mean, I don't know how good this is gonna pick it up, especially seeing as the zoom is way off, but you can see it's just sticky. I don't know if you can see that, but anyway, the stuff is obviously pretty permanent, or at least durable. I hope that I didn't use too much, because it might attract a lot of dirt. Chain is lubed, oil's been done. I'm headed out for at least the afternoon, maybe the rest of the day, so I might get to this tomorrow. All right, so it's actually the next day, and I got really busy yesterday. I never got a chance to get back to working on the bike and finishing this up. So I'm actually just gonna take it off of the stand here and I'm gonna go for a little ride. I have to go and pick something up really quick. That's about it. It should be a pretty easy adventure from here. All that just so I could ride the bike to get an HDMI cable. That's it. Thanks for watching.